40-plus points per game against
Average 42 this season against the Pacers.
So they haven't had much success. He's had a 64-point game, a 54-point game.
The others where within a bucket of possession here.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Before I finish.
Yeah.
You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not subscribe.
So you can't interview me then. No
Okay,
disrespect.
Well, Jamal is here.
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Again, there were a couple times within a bucket or two. In previous games, y'all have been able to kind of get over that hump, or maybe.
Mic on my face, please? Yeah, thank you.
Was it anything they did in particular, or was it just one of those where the bucket didn't go down, there wasn't the stop, they made one? What kind of prevented that you all from being able to get over, kind of like you have in the past?
You'll move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod.
When you think of a player like Patrick Beverley, you think of a hard-nosed, no-nonsense, give it 110% on the floor type of player, a guy who really had to earn his way into the league after not being a heavily sought-after recruit, was drafted late in the second round in 2009 by the LA Lakers, played overseas for 3 years after being deemed ineligible to continue playing college ball after a sophomore season for academic reasons, worked his way back into the NBA by going through the G League and would eventually sign a multi-year contract with the Houston Rockets after playing on a two-way deal with their G League affiliate. Pat Bev would have to work hard, extra hard, to become an NBA level player because of his size, not the most gifted player offensively, and you have to appreciate his work ethic to get to where he's gotten in the league and still playing 11 years in the NBA after signing his first contract. But then there's the other side of Patrick Beverley. When you think of his name, some might call him a dirty player for some of his antics, hothead, immature, big trash talker who can't back up his mouth. But despite all of his antics and trash talking throughout his NBA career, he's always been able to find his way onto a roster with his grit and defensive tenacity that is valuable for a lot of teams. But while teams could look away and put the annoying side of Patrick Beverley aside, that sentiment has now passed. And while it may seem extreme to say, Patrick Beverley's recent antics / comments after his Bucks season-ending loss to the Pacers in Game 6 were likely his undoing and the end of his career in the NBA, and I'll explain why in this video. As always, be sure to subscribe to the channel, although unlike Patrick Beverley, I'll still talk to you in the comments even if you do not. But it does help the channel out greatly, and in return I'll be providing more NBA content like this. Now, I mentioned this in a tweet right after the video started going viral of Patrick Beverley telling Melinda Adams that you can't interview me if you don't subscribe to my podcast. But for me, I live by a few simple rules, that I have very little tolerance for people if you go against them, and that's to not talk down to or show disrespect to people who are simply trying to do their jobs. And look, we see it a lot in the NBA where players are short with the media, won't give them the time of day, or give them a condescending response to a bad question, but refusing to talk to a member of the media because they don't subscribe to your podcast, which first of all, it's super cringe. Like, you're an NBA player and you're trying to promote your podcast and concern more about that and who subscribed to it and who isn't. But to double down on that by telling her to get the microphone out of your face, not once, but twice, and telling her to remove herself from the circle like she was beneath him was straight loser behavior by Pat Bev. And look, I get it. You just lost the series. It was a disappointing season for a team that had championship aspirations, but show some class, some professionalism, and respect. And yes, I'm aware Patrick Beverley called Melinda and apologized after the fact, which is good and well, but part of me does wonder if Pat Bev would have actually called this woman to apologize had he not received so much backlash from it on social media for what a prick he looked like. A video that got well over 30 million views, by the way, on Twitter. But the apology aside, I don't think Patrick Beverley comes back from this. I know that seems super hyperbolic and reactionary, but I really do believe that. And look, I haven't even gotten to the incident with the fan, which the league is going to have a rough time looking into and trying to assess what's going to happen with the investigation. But the reason I say this likely is the end of Patrick Beverley's career in the NBA as we know it is because, one, his career was already towards the end anyway. Dude is 35, has been getting passed around from team to team. Yeah, he brings energy, hustle, and defensive effort, which a lot of teams appreciate, but his play isn't as good as he used to be. And at his age, with his decline in production and now being more of a headache and drawing unnecessary attention to your team to the point where it's really not worth signing him, even to a vet minimum deal. Not worth taking up an extra roster spot. And look, it was probably a good chance that regardless of what happened in Game 6, that could have been Pat's last game in the league anyway. Like I said, he was getting to the tail end of his career, going to be 36 this summer, but this was really the nail in the coffin. Teams, players, the fans are all kind of getting fed up with Patrick Beverley. And we already know Adam Silver is going to take this altercation with the fans seriously. Like, as much as fans can't mess with the players, and you'll be thrown out of the game if you take it too far in taunting a player, but the same goes for players to the fans. Those are the customers of the league. You disrespect the customer, or hell, even get physical with them, the league isn't going to take that lightly. That's the other reason why I see it being very unlikely that Patrick Beverley gets signed by a team this offseason, because he's likely going to get some kind of suspension handed down by the league for missing a certain number of games to start this upcoming season. What team wants to sign up for a guy that's 36 years old, who has fallen off as a player, while his antics and trash talking get more and more out of control with every passing season? And look, this one is tough for me because as a Bulls fan, Patrick Beverley, being a Chicago native, representing the city and being a hard worker, passionate player, came to the Bulls last season after the All-Star break, picking him up off the buyout market, and he actually made the Bulls better overall, albeit still missing the playoffs. But there was a newfound sense of energy and fight in the Bulls that we didn't see earlier in the year, and for the most part, I've defended Patrick Beverley throughout his career. Yeah, his antics were annoying. You might not like him as a player because he gets under your skin, but honestly, I like players like that. It's why Joakim Noah is one of my favorite players of all time. Wasn't always the most skilled, he wasn't going to be your best player, he wasn't going to give you flashy highlight reels, but the man left it all out there on the floor like every game was his last. And he knew how to push players' buttons. He knew how to get under his opponent's skin with his suffocating defense. But Noah also kept things very professional with the media, respectful to the fans, and rarely would you see him commit dirty plays to try and get a player injured. When it came to the refs, yeah, that was a different story. Noah would let the refs hear about it if he thought the calls weren't fair. But with the media and fans, he was always a professional. And while I appreciate Patrick Beverley's passion, his determination, his hustle, and hard work ethic, I cannot defend him anymore. Like I said, I can't get behind someone who disrespects another for simply doing their job. That's never been okay in my book. And to make it worse, getting into it with a fan before that. Yeah, just a bad look all around. A bad look for Pat, a bad look for the league. And if this was 7 or 8 years ago and Patrick Beverley was still in his prime and was one of the best defensive players in the NBA, yeah, he recovers from this. But at this stage in his career, when he's been a journeyman and has been more of a liability than a positive impact player, nah, I don't see him coming back from this. I see the Shanghai Sharks for Patrick Beverley in his future. Let me know what you guys think. Do you see a team signing Patrick Beverley for next season? Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.